Now, I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure, if memory serves me, that Manfred Trenz of Turrican fame made a shoot 'em up called Catechis. He got into some bother with it because it was too similar to the game R-Type, so some changes were made and the game was re-released under the name Denaris, and this would be the Amiga version of the said game. Done by Factor 5, which is, in my opinion, best known for a certain game that I may or may not cover. It depends on a lot of things. But regardless, looking at this game, if you are familiar with R-Type, you will probably notice that there is a very distinct similarity to that game. Considering the fact that this is the changed version, which apparently didn't get any bother, you can probably guess how the original game would have looked. When it comes to side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups, I can appreciate that coming up with new ideas will probably not be the easiest thing in the world without making them either wacky or obnoxious or whatever. So I can understand why so many of them are so generic. But when it comes to side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups, I think there's little question in my mind that my absolute favorite of them all would be either the arcade or Amiga version of R-Type. The Amiga version is not perfect, but it's not bad by any means. And because of the quite obvious, I would say, similarities to R-Type, that's is what's going to cause the ultimate issue I have with this game. I have two issues with it, but mainly if you look at enemies, you look at shots, you look at shot patterns, there are so many similarities to R-Type. There's also differences. The pod, for instance, is just a shield pod. It doesn't do anything. You can send it off like you can in R-Type, but it doesn't give you extra shots or anything. The side pod, which may or may not do extra things once you get a bit more firepower, but at the moment it's just basically a side shield. You have enemies coming infinitely down, where you have to shoot enough of them so you get a gap so you can get past them. That kind of stuff. But by and large, this game is unpleasantly similar to R-Type, and ultimately that is its downfall, in my opinion. The problem I have is I'm expecting R-Type gameplay and I'm not getting it. I know it is not R-Type, well, sort of not, but the similarities are so pronounced that somewhere in the back of my mind I want R-Type gameplay, and that's not what I'm getting. What I'm getting is something that feels like a game that took far too heavy inspiration from another very, very famous game. If Iron gave them flag over Catechis, I'm not sure how this managed to scrape through, but I suppose Iron Corp, by the way, was the original designers of the arcade R-Type. Another thing that I find extremely annoying about this game is its overall difficulty. Because of the tight space you end up flying in from time to time, and because of the amount of enemies on screen, and because of the amount of shots that can come at you, the inflated difficulty doesn't serve any purpose. There are far too many situations where you have those rows of enemies where you basically have to hope that you have enough firepower to create a hole in a wall so you can fly through it, and if you haven't got enough firepower, you're not going to get through it, and that's probably why it keeps giving you the reflective laser, so you can actually create a gap. The problem in that regard is that without the speed up, your craft is relatively slow. I'm not going to say it's any slower than it is in R-Type, but it just feels more unresponsive. And of course the fact that an awful lot of enemies seem to take a lot more shots than in R-Type, meaning that the pod you have in front, the shield unit, it doesn't necessarily shield you. In R-Type, the pod will take out normal enemies by flying or by touching them, but because they got more HP or hits or whatever you call it in this version, if you bump into two enemies at the same time, the shield pod might destroy one of them, but the other one will bypass the shield pod and hit you. Add to that a doubtful hit detection at times. It's not exactly the most accurate hit detection. It's not horrible, but it's not absolutely spot on either. A gameplay experience that's rather uninspired. Graphics which are decent but nothing special. Sound effects, music which is again decent but nothing special. Me personally, I am not finding any desire nor reason to keep playing this and try to get good, or whatever you call it. There was just nothing that inspired me to do that. There was nothing that drew me to do that. There was nothing that encouraged me to do that. The only thing I felt I was doing was playing an inferior version of R-Type, which was unnecessarily more difficult. Because R-Type was plenty difficult. And this is just amping it up for no reason whatsoever. So on that note, I'll say thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time. Bye bye for now.